You and I. Have. So I feel like I should, but you're dancing. You see, I feel like I should be dancing.
Oh yeah, always dancing. Get those moves going.
I just lost my dress. Then you had your back turned, and I lost my dress. But it's fine. Shoulder. Oh, everybody saw. Never mind.
Now we got monkey. Woo woo. Yeah.
What is happening? This is supposed to be a really serious talk, Live-at-5, about the sewing community. It's not really. It's not really.
No, we're the lighter side of sewing.
We are the lighter side of sewing. So anyway, so lovely, Kim. It's so nice to. Well, obviously, I mean, I met you for the first time about 25 minutes ago,
and that was fun.
That was fun. I really wish that we just had that on YouTube, because we were talking about. Well, let's be honest, we're talking about menopause, headaches, teenagers, and other associated things, which is probably
love children.
Yeah. Let's just chat. So lovely, Kim. First of all, whereabouts are you based in the States? Because I haven't asked you this question, and I was wondering what time it was for you.
It is 12:03, and I'm in Virginia.
Okay.
My family and I, we live about, I don't know, an hour south as the crow flies from DC.
Yes.
But as 95, it's about 3-4 hours because the traffic is horrific all the time.
So now, your name is Niedzwiecki. Niedzwiecki. That's how you pronounce it. So, I mean, did you move to America as a child? Are you American? Were you born in America? Were you born?
I'm American. My Niedzwiecki, sorry, my phone, live, my husband's family came over from Poland many years ago, like 2 generations ago. So I've actually been doing all the family history, and it's interesting to go back and see. And oddly enough, my son was just working in Poland for about 1.5 years. So he absolutely loves it there. I think he may stay forever. Now he's in Romania, but yeah, so the name is from Poland. I am just, my family's been here for stupid ever. And that's just, I'm very basic.
The tale of America, it is all about immigrants, isn't it? That's the thing. Everybody is an immigrant to America. So that you have all sorts of fantastic people, which is, it's a great melting pot, isn't it? That's the thing. Loads of different, people from different places all arriving. Yeah. Long way back. So what I'm trying to say is, I think everybody's family line has got some kind of different nationality in it from somewhere.
Yeah.
Where I live in Lincolnshire, Boston is just up the road, and that was the first people left, didn't they, from Boston? The first settlers in America, I believe, were from Boston, which is amazing. I've got a theory actually about Lincolnshire, because people here say Tuesday. I don't. I say Tuesday, but in Lincolnshire, people say Tuesday. And so I wondered if that kind of carried over to America, Tuesday.
Oh, it probably did. I watched a whole documentary because my family was kicked out of Scotland for being McGregors. They were revolutionaries, and so they had to change their name. So my maiden name is actually, it's McGehee. It's McGee. But it comes from those people being kicked out and having to hide undercover for being revolutionaries and banned in Scotland for like 160 years and tossed over here. So we were just tossed. It's like, and oddly enough,
Scotland, don't they toss those big
those bad boys of Scotland knock us over here, and I guess we stayed.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I watched a whole documentary about language in this region in West Virginia, actually coming over from its origins are England, Scotland, and the way they pronounce certain things they can direct link it back to certain parts of England and Scotland. So I'm not going mad.
Because I said this to someone the other day about the Tuesday, and they went, "No, that's a coincidence." I thought, "No, it's not. No, it's not."
There are no coincidences. None.
There are no. You're right. There are coincidences. There's no coincidences, and everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. You're here today. We asked you. You said yes. So here you are. So let's talk about, before we talk about other things, just in case the people who want to know about sewing, and then they can leave then if they don't, if they think, what these women talking about? I want to hear about the sewing.
I'll just so that I'll show something pretty.
Show
So that we're
pretty.
looking in the right place. Here's
Right
a
place. What are you showing us? Oh, that is pretty. That is nice.
So see, we have some sewing and quilting, and there's fabric.
There is fabric. There's a lot of fabric there.
This is one of my favorites. Heather Ross Mendocino.
Nice.
I made this at the beach a couple of summers ago. I sewed while we were at the beach.
Wow. Lovely. I love the colours. I love that shocking pink in there.
Oh, yeah.
Is that pink?
I don't know if you can see it. It's got mermaids. I have to move my coffee. Sorry. Let's see. Where are the mermaids? I don't know if you can see them. Like,
yes. Yes, we can see them.
And all sorts of sea life. This is, I love this quilt. Anyway, okay, back to what we were talking about.
Well, the thing is with you, what I find interesting about you, Kim, I mean, there are lots of things I find interesting. When I started Crafty Monkeys, one of the things I was doing were retreats. So we were going to send people on amazing holiday retreats. And then we know what happened in the world. And that was the end of that. It will come back. The retreats will come back. But in the retreats was interesting because we started out by doing half a day of dressmaking and half a day of quilting. And someone said to me, you won't fill those places because people do not want to do both. They do not dressmake and quilt, or quilt and dressmake. It never the two shall meet. You only do one or the other. And this is the first thing that struck me when I looked at your Instagram account. Okay, this lady, she prances around in skirts that she makes. So she's a good dressmaker. And then she's doing blocks of the month. She's quilting. So what's going on there?
I started out, hold on.
Gone already. I've got to try and get this video on my phone so I can see people's comments.
I brought these down for you too. Some dresses I've made.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's actually one of my favorites. This is the Magnolia pattern.
That's very nice.
Very from, I think, Deer and Doe. And then, this is Mr. Domestic's fabric. This is another Magnolia. It's very versatile. And I love it because it's all stretchy. I love stretchy. And this is my latest make, and it's like a very formal gown with, bunting and like a thing to make your bum look big.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, one of those. Mm-hmm.
And this one actually took me quite a while because I figured out that hand stitching worked a lot better than sewing machine on the bulkier things. So it took me a significant amount of time, but I loved every stitch of it. But I do see a lot in the community where people box themselves in.
Yes.
I can only do, X, Y, or Z. It's like, I can only do quilts. I don't identify as a quilter or a garment sewer or a cosplayer or a bag maker. And I find that sad that the community in general, really boxes people in that way. It's like, sew stuff for the challenge of it. Be a thrill sewer. Be someone who will try anything, because even if you hate it, you've learned something. Yes. Something will help you somewhere else. And the terms and technique for the techniques may be different in different areas of sewing, but a lot of times they're the same exact thing, just said in a different way.
Yeah.
And once I realized that, because I suck, can I say that?
Yeah.
I suck at pattern reading. I am a horrible pattern reader. I am a visual learner. And so patterns were always very difficult for me when I started. So I would look at them and I'd toss them to one side. What I have learned is that, number one, always practice. If you don't know what you're doing, you do not want to cut into good fabric. period. I don't care what even my own stuff. If I'm remaking something, I will cut into crap fabric first.
Yeah.
Because if I make a mistake, then I can just go, okay, and I can use that in another way.
You know, that's what we often say though on our classes, Kim, is that some people will say, oh, I can't come to that class because I haven't bought my fabric yet. And we say, actually, just get any old rubbish fabric and practice the techniques that you learn in class. Don't worry about bringing your best fabric. Just practice first with the fabric that you have.
And if you don't have a lot of money, you know, there are other ways to acquire fabric.
Yeah.
You know, I call it the thrifted, gifted, and found fabrics.
Yeah.
You can go up into your own linen closet, those sheets that you're not using anymore, cut those things up.
Yeah.
It costs you $0. Exactly. You know, I go in my kids' closets. I love thrifting. You know, a lot of people will say, hey, I'm not using this, that, or the other. All you have to do is ask. And people will show up. They'll pitch up and go, hey, I'm not using this or that or the other. And a lot of times I find like this piece of fabric sitting here in front of me, you know, I bought it at $1 at a thrift store, and it's very breezy and light, and I'm probably going to make a blouse out of it, but $1.
$1.
And if I mess it up, I'm not going to cry.
Exactly. Well, one of our tutors, Chris English, he of the Crumb Block, he gets, well, I'd say most of his fabrics, he just goes to markets and he buys old overalls, you know, and he'll just then cut them up. But he's a big one for buying in secondhand shops men's cotton shirts, because he said if you're going to make a quilt or something, you want it to feel nice against your skin. Well, cotton shirts usually are made to feel good against skin because they use a good quality cotton. So he said that's where he buys his fabric. And of course, those shirts, as you say, it's just a few pounds. So, and you can cut into them. And if you make a mistake, you know, it's not like you've gone and bought that really expensive per meter fabric. So yeah, good top tip there.
I made a massive red quilt. I make a lot of upcycle quilts. I actually like the garment fabrics better for quilting than quilting cotton, because they provide the saturation of colors, and the different hands of the fabric are really nice, and they give it an appearance that you don't get in any other way. I mean, it's just, it's always, I don't know, amazing to me how these, you know, you sit and you rip, which is kind of therapeutic. You just tear everything up, using it up, that it belonged to someone, to me, not to get like too touchy-feely, that was someone's life. And so by adding it into my life, it feels like really personal. And I like that. I like that feeling. And of course, keeping it out of landfills, which here we have Goodwill thrift shops that have bins. They're called the big blue bins. I'm sorry about my phone. Big blue bins, and you buy it by the pound. By the pound. It's so crazy. So you go in and you buy like this much, and you pay like $15, and you end up with, I don't know, 20, 30 pounds of fabric. It's crazy. So that's, you know, that's how I like to do it when I'm sewing. And actually, now that you're making me think about it, I'm already planning my next quilt. Thank you.
I'm glad that I've inspired you. And let's talk about how you made that transition then, because there may be people who are watching today, Kim, who are dressmakers or are quilters and are thinking, oh, okay, so how do I make that transition? I mean, do you just basically say, okay, start? What would you, if you were a dressmaker and you were going to start your quilting journey, because did your dressmaking come first? Were you dressmaking?
No, the quilting came first, but even before that, I was making baby items.
Right.
I found, you know, that's how I started. I started making baby items because I had, you know, my son. That's when I started quilting. I taught myself how to quilt, or how to sew in general. And so I couldn't find things that I wanted for my son to wear because they were too babyish, which I didn't really care for, or they were like really expensive. You know, I want all those really high class, high end European clothes for my son. And so I found that I could do that on my own by sewing. And so it was pure trial and error on an old Kenmore, and it was a hot mess, but I learned how to install zippers. I made my own wet bags. I was a cloth diapering mom. And so that's how it started. And then it went into quilting. Now, in my mind, I was like, I can never quilt. I can never do that. And I picked a pattern. I mean, honestly, when anyone starts sewing, pick a project first. You know, you don't know if you can or you can't unless you have a vision of what, you know, it's like, all right, so I'm going to choose this project. You know, I'm going to make this. And then you find a pattern that matches what you're going to do. And then you just start with a stitch. You know, if you really want to do the basics, from garment sewing to quilting, I would get used to the 1/4 inch seam, because you know, garment sewing is all the 5/8 and 1/2 and not a whole lot of 1/4 inch, but your mind gets used to doing a certain thing. So find all the ways that you can make that transition. You know, washi tape on your machine, get those lines. I always wondered when I was a kid, my grandmother had an old Singer, and I always wondered why she had that tape on her machine. It's like, oh, duh.
Yeah.
But, you know, there are little ways that you can take what you have, and you don't have to make a full quilt to begin with. Make a quilt block.
Yes, that's, you know, that's what struck me because I always, you know, say this, although I, you know, run Crafty Monkeys, I am not a sewer and a quilter. That's not my thing. I bring people together very much into the sewing community, host all these amazing classes with all these amazing tutors. I'm there in the Zoom. I make sure everybody's happy. I'm pressing all the buttons. And then, of course, I'm working with, you know, Kerry, who you know, to bring all these amazing sewers to Crafty Monkeys. But, you know, I'm learning all the time, all the techniques and the phrases and things. But one thing that struck me, that was one big shifting point in my head, was when we started teaching the classes, I just thought, well, how are we going to teach people to make a quilt? Because I knew that quilts are big, and I knew that there's a lot of detail. And I thought, how can you do that in a class? Because you make a block. And
You
so
make
that's
a
the
block.
thing. And you can make you can make
and
you make a block. That's how you start.
And that's how you start. And some people may be able to make one in that time, and some people may be able to make 10 in that time.
Yes.
But you give them the tools that they need to complete the project later on. So, and as far as, you know, retreat situations, you're dealing with somebody who has never used a sewing machine and wants to, all the way up to an expert who's there just for fun.
Yeah.
And so, you know, by having that sort of group together, you can work with both, you know, by providing fun, but also by providing that one-on-one. And a lot of times the more expert sewing enthusiasts, whether it's a quilter or a garment sewer, they'll help other people out too. And so that's what's really nice about retreats, because you're getting the whole together and creating a good environment for both.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I've noticed as well, talking about blocks and things, that one of your favorite blocks is a cathedral window, which is strange because we did a cathedral window class here in Crafty Monkeys in the last year with Sarah Payne. It was one of the most popular classes in terms of your typical quilting block. People love the cathedral window, but it's because it looks so difficult to achieve, and yet it's not. And you said, didn't you, that one of your joys is when people go,
Yep. I love that. I love when people are really, you know, they do something and they don't see it until they see it. And then it's like, shut up, get it out, you know, and that thrills me. That, and when people, because everyone has their certain style of making things, and something that works for someone else may not work for me. So I do things in my own way. And I think we all tend to do that when we find something that's comfortable and what works, and it may not be the, you know, the approved way to do it. but I'll make little videos and things, and people will go, oh my gosh, that was life-changing for me. I never wanted to try paper piecing before, but I saw that and I can do it now.
Exactly.
And, you know, so bringing that to people, and I encourage everyone to do that, because you don't know who you're going to be reaching. I mean, if one person gains knowledge and is able to sew because of a 30-second video that I did, I love that. I absolutely love that. I also, oh, where is it? I was making a hand sewn cathedral window quilt using all vintage fabrics.
Yeah, lovely.
So I need to get back to that one. The hand quilting is a little more tedious for me, but I think it'll be beautiful in 10 years when it's done.
Well, that's another thing. I mean, so many people in the sewing community have millions of UFOs, millions. But you know, I think that's fine, because you can always go back to things, and this is what we do in life, don't we? This is what we do in life. Can we go back and we revisit things and we change things? We go forward, and then we might go back and look at something. So why not? Why not keep doing those UFOs? Now, you've got a phrase which I really love as well, and it kind of, you've almost sort of said it really, but be the reason that someone starts up or doesn't give up, which is how good, such a good phrase. And you know, I might steal that and start using it all over Crafted Monkey. So I'll be expecting the
you have my permission to use it everywhere.
no, it's a really, really good thing, because that's what we try and do in the classes, is just to get people, as you say, give them a reason to have a go. But it's just as important to, you know, make them to give them a reason not to stop. And I saw a great quote. There's a guy, an American actually, called James Clear. He sends out a newsletter every week, got millions of subscribers, and he just literally in his newsletter sends out 3 or 4 quotes, and it just makes you stop for 5 minutes and read them, and then sometimes rethink about them. And there was an artist in his quote, in his thing yesterday, that was saying something very similar, that in order to start, you can't expect to be good. You can't expect that, because you're just starting. But in order to, you know, get good and to get better, you have to start, and you have to keep practicing until eventually you become good. And I think that's such a really important thing for people to bear in mind, isn't it? To not have too high expectations of themselves. It's just fabric.
That's right. It's just fabric. It's just fabric. It's just thread. I mean, it's not the end of the world. You know, if you mess up, you mess up, but you learn something along the way. I mean, embracing that, being able to learn something and use that later on, I think is the most important part. I mean, I can't even tell you all the ways that I have messed up. A lot. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. But I also encourage, I know people don't like those inspirational quote things very much. I lived on them for a while. And I told you earlier, you know, I have RA, and something I live with. And when I had to leave my first job in the industry, and I was literally bedridden for 5 months, I consumed those things every single morning. I put it in my scheduler. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this because hopefully some of it'll stick and make me feel better. Yeah. And it did.
I mean, you know, we put those quotes on our, we do one a week on a Wednesday, I think it is. We just put a quote up there. And I just think if people don't like it, they'll just whiz past it. They can always come back the next day for the quilty picture. You know, we try and give something to each person, you know, out there. But I think those inspirational quotes, like you say, sometimes you absolutely need them, or you just come across something and it just sets something alight, doesn't it? So I think they're great. How do you build your sewing community? Because that's, you know, I was talking to Pat Sloan a couple of weeks ago about what she does, and of course she does her.
Oh, she's incredible.
She's incredible. I mean,
I charge her.
She does a video every day on YouTube.
Oh, she had 2 broken wrists, and she was doing videos. I'm like, Pat, how are you doing this?
She's not real. I think she's an alien. Don't tell her I said that, but I think she's an alien. She's not on our planet.
Yeah, we have a nickname around here for Pat Sloan. We call her the Queen.
Yeah, I read that.
Yep, we call her the Queen. that was donned by other people in the house and like, oh, the queen. And I was like, yes, I love Pat.
Was that one of your most exciting moments to date when you were interviewed by her for her podcast?
Well, actually the most thrilling was being invited to be part of the first Splendid Sampler.
Yes.
I know Pat in real life. I love Pat dearly.
Yeah.
But Pat and Jane and the Splendid Sampler, that was fantastic. That was just, and see, this is my block right down here. I feel like Mike Wazowski in Monster Inc. I'm on the cover. It's like this tiny little one down here.
Yeah, I remember.
And I also did the, where is it? I helped design the setting and pieced like the majority of this.
Yes.
It weighed like 1 billion pounds. It was pretty amazing. But seeing all the blocks in real life was incredible. It was so much fun. Yeah. That was an absolute thrill. But building a community, I honestly don't know that I have a community.
What you do? I mean, on Instagram, what is it? 26,000 followers? I think it is.
I'm barely hanging on there. My real life job has definitely taken over my time on social media.
It's amazing.
Just there. But Missing Market was a huge part of that.
Yeah.
The Missing Market event. I've done a few 100 blocks things, but I try to be there for people, because it's really difficult. A lot of people think of sewing as, people getting together in certain areas, but what they don't realize is there are a lot of areas that don't have local quilt shops. I do not have one. It's 4 hours north in DC or like 2 hours south in Richmond.
Yeah.
There are quilt guilds around here, but obviously right now I'm not going to quilt guild meetings. So the online community is very, very important, especially for those people who don't have access to it because of location, because of their personal health or other reasons. And so being there for them, and Pat has done a fantastic job of understanding that and reaching all of those people. And she's amazing because it's just her and her husband.
Yes.
I mean, she doesn't have
so I expected that she would have lots of staff, and she said, no, it's just me. I'm like, but you're so prolific.
Yes.
She really is.
She's dynamic.
Yeah.
And there are, a few left in the community that it's just them. But by and large, more and more people have, either help around the house or groups of people that, do those pattern testings and things like that. But there's no shame in having help either.
Oh.
I had someone to clean my house.
You probably need someone to clean your house because you sewers are messy. I've seen your workrooms.
Actually, mine is not so bad right now. I cleaned it a few weeks ago, and I've been very good about trying to keep it tidy in between. I actually tidied up last night because you were going to be here today. But I have my next project that I'm going to be sewing. I found this at the thrift store.
Okay.
It's in the buttons skirt.
Yes.
It's a wrap skirt, which I've never made a wrap skirt. Oh, I'm also a challenge sewer. I'm kind of like a one and done. I very rarely will remake something because I've already done it. Once I've done it, it is of no interest to me at all.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't have a whole lot of patterns or do anything in that way, because it's like, oh, I've done it. I don't care. It's not that I don't care. It's just there's other things I can be doing.
Yeah. So what other things do you like to do? Because I asked Pat this. I said to her, okay, so, when you're not sewing, what else do you like to do? And for a second, she had to think about it. She was like, oh, I sew all the time. What else do I like doing? But she said, she liked traveling and gardening, big gardener. So she was into that. But so what else do you like doing?
It's a good question.
Same
I
response.
actually, this is going to sound strange. I love painting rooms,
That's
not
not strange.
artistic painting. I
Yeah.
love changing the look of a room. I was just, I cannot wait. I miss painting season. I'm so missing. I just want to paint. And I honestly, my day job is social media. And honestly, even when I'm off the clock, I'm still on social media trying to make sure that people are taken care of. So that consumes a lot of my personal time as well. If everything were not strange with COVID right now, I would probably be out doing stuff with my kids. Um, I do love to be in a garden. There's nothing more joyous than manual labor for me. I like
it.
really hard stuff.
All I want to say to you is that I could do with some gardening at my house, and my house needs decorating. So if you want to fly over, I mean, there's a huge project here for you.
Yes, yes. Is Festival of Quilts happening?
Is there what? Is there what?
Quilts happening?
Yes, Festival of Quilts is happening. But I do think it's going to be a lot quieter. One of our ladies, Janet Clare, is not going, and under her post, so many people commented and said, "No, neither am I. I'm not going either." So I think it's going to be quite quiet. But I think there are still a lot of exhibitors going, and it is happening. But
So 2022.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to 2022.
Yes.
When hopefully, fingers crossed, things will be opened up and safe for everyone.
Yeah.
And I've been slated to go over because I'm an honorary member of Exeter Sewing.
Yes.
I'm an honorary member of their shop. Have been for years, and so there have always been like these behind the scenes big plans of me coming over there. So that may happen.
Yes. Hopefully, I'm hoping that next year we'll be back to normal. I saw the new normal, because I do think that this whole online thing is not going to go away. I think this Zoom, obviously.
No.
But something, I think that's actually a brilliant thing, because when we started doing our classes, and one of our first teachers that we got was Nicholas Ball.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously he has got a worldwide community. I mean, there are ladies in LA who absolutely adore him, and they were taking classes, and the first time it kind of struck me about how amazing this Zoom platform was that one lady said to him, "Oh, Nicholas, could I just show you my quilting wall?" So she took the camera over to the wall and she started showing him all these blocks, and then he was going through it. And it kind of struck me that you would not be able to do that. And she said, "I couldn't afford to fly over to Wales or London, wherever Nicholas was." And she said, "But also, if I did that, I wouldn't be able to show him this wall." And when people are in their homes and they're sewing, they've got everything around them. So if they need to nip off and get something, they can sit in their pajamas, they can turn their cameras off. It is an amazing thing, actually, that's happened out of the pandemic. I think the whole Zoom thing, but because everybody a lot of people are doing online classes.
And I like that you said that. Australia is another one. Australia, a lot of people cannot, because it's days flight from anywhere, and everything there is so expensive anyway. Australia, I'm sure they are just like, yes, and they have the best sewing and quilting community. And the UK has that too. I'm amazed at how many posts I see coming out. A lot of garment sewists. I am so impressed. And Carrie, Carrie's like awesome. Every garment she makes, I'm like, I love it. I love it. She's so pretty. She's such a pretty model too.
We should say, by the way, if anybody's watching this thinking, who's Carrie? Carrie is she does many things, but one of the things she does is the social media for Crafty Monkeys. I do chip in, you will, if it says from Rachel, it is me. She doesn't pretend to be me. But Carrie is, but she's also my right hand girl as well, in terms of she knew you and she brought you here today to have this chat, which is fantastic. So yeah, she is. You can follow her at it's at Very Kerry Berry, isn't it? That's her Instagram handle, at Very Kerry Berry.
And she has really long blonde wavy hair, and she's always wearing some fabulous make that she's done. Her closet must be incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like a stalker.
In the previous chat that we had, that you wanted to have her love child.
Yeah.
So,
And Natalie Santini too. I have like this whole imaginary love child family. Natalie's totally cool with it. Yeah, So Hungry Hippie. If you don't follow her, you should. She's awesome. But Carrie is, she's just so, she feels so opposite for me. She feels so like even keel and very,
she's very even keel. She has to deal with me, so I need someone. I bring the drama, and she's like, okay.
Exactly, and that's the vibe I always get from her, which I think is why it would be kind of perfect. I'm sorry, Carrie's just gonna be like, I don't know her. Block, block, block.
Who else do you admire in the sewing world? Obviously, we've covered Kerry, but who else do you admire?
Oh gosh, it's kind of like asking about my favorite child, isn't it? My kids will tell you who they think it is, and they're united front on that one. They're just honestly who I admire the most are the people who are just starting out and putting it out there.
Yeah.
Because it takes so much courage. You have to be exceptionally brave to say, I don't know what I'm doing, but here's what I did.
Yes.
And to know that there are going to be, public critiques of that. So to me, it's not one person specifically, or even, a group of this, that, or the other. But it's the beginner. Because that's where we all started. Yeah. I mean, we all had those moments, but a lot of them were before blogs, before, smartphones or Instagram, back in the day of Flickr. But putting it out there, that's very brave. And so those are the people that I'm just like, I feel you, I see you, and keep going because you're doing amazing.
Nice. I don't think I've ever had that from anybody when I've said, I've done a lot of interviews over on Instagram Live, who do you admire? And, people always they've just never thought that way. And I'm sure they would all say the same thing now. They would go, oh yes, of course. But that's really interesting that that's your first thought. But, I think that comes across in your Instagram, in your profile, that you do have this absolute joy of sewing, and you just want to make it fun, and you just want to get it out there, and you just want everybody to join in. And I think it really is encouraging. That's the word I'd use for your social media, and that comes through.
Yeah, and I even put out, I'm fallible. I make mistakes all the time. Matter of fact, last block I made, there was a mistake in it because I forgot to trim out the center thing, and mea culpa. I messed up. I got so into the process and I forgot to say scant 1/4-inch seam. And people were like, hey, wait a minute. It's like, oh, duh. All of the people behind all of this stuff were just people too. And so by realizing that we're just all people, we all come with stuff, and, none of us are better than anyone else. We're just further along in the sewing process, and you can either love it or hate it, but that's what it is.
Yeah. Now you also work for Oroville, don't you? You've had collaboration.
That's where I started out. I worked for them for almost 4 years, and that's I did all the social media for 4 years.
Yeah.
12 to 16. And that's when I got ill, and I needed to leave that position because I was moved to creative director, and I was so sick. There was just no way I could do it. Heartbreaking, because that was my baby. I spent 60 hours a week, 7 days a week.
No, something, you Americans, you are incredibly hardworking in terms of the, because you, like, in a job like that, your holiday a year, would it be like 2 weeks that you would be given a year?
I did not have any holidays during the time.
what I'm saying. In England, it is very different. We do get a good 5 or 6 weeks holiday if you've got a salaried job, whereas America, 2 weeks. So
No, I didn't have it.
you have a holiday. You just
No.
kept working. Yeah. Well, I'm talking to Karen from Orville next Friday here live, and we're going to be talking about the sort of philosophy and the threads.
Oh yeah, she's one of the philosophers. She's been, gosh, she was a quilter. They had not started the philosopher program yet when I was there, and now I work for Genome America.
Yes.
So I do all their social media, and I get to work with their amazing makers, and I get to schedule all the lives and do some of the graphics, and mostly just try and keep up with messages and stuff.
It's intense, isn't it? Social media, it really is intense. So what is there left for you to do? I mean, there's a lot. I mean, as we were saying earlier, we're in the prime of our lives. Look at us. Look at us. I think, would people mind saying this number? You wouldn't mind us saying that this number may be involved in our ages?
Oh, both. Sunday. I'm 2 hands Sunday.
2 hands on Sunday.
2 hands. I'm 2 full hands. I think I've always been 2 full hands, but it's official on Sunday.
So what in your wildest dreams, where would you like to see yourself going? What would you like to do?
Honestly, I don't do that. Just like I don't believe in glory days.
Yeah.
Because
explain the glory days, because that was really nice. We were talking about that earlier. Explain the glory days. What is that when you say don't? Because we're saying to younger people what we would say to them. Don't do glory days.
I see it a lot. People have their glory days, and it's like that's where they go back to, and that's where they base what was their happiness, and the only place where happiness can be. And then it's like an anchor, and it keeps them in that place. Yeah. And I suffered from that for a while, and then realized that by letting go of those glorious days, it's just a part of your life. It's part of where your path to here. But I don't believe in glory days. And I also, as far as dreaming for the future, I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. That sounds kind of lofty, but I literally don't. I mean, my life changed in one day, years back. And so for me, I'm just like, okay, what feels good? What am I doing today that feels good? What's something, I want a well-rounded life. I don't want to be consumed by any one thing. And it all passes so quickly. I mean, 2 hands, people are like, oh my gosh, I don't mind aging. I think age is a beautiful thing.
So many people don't get the chance to age. So
right. And the people who do, I mean, you have people who are just so, this was my only life, that they tend to forget you've got all this other life to live. And
you change your life. That's the thing. You can change it. And it is very hard. And it's very hard when we've got these patterns of behavior, and we've got these thoughts that stay with us. But you can change your life. You can.
Yes.
And I think sometimes, I think if your life is meant to be changed, it will be. It's almost like the universe does it to you.
Oh yeah, the universe will. The universe will come. Sit down. Sit. Stay.
You're not listening. And
then you try and do it again. I'll say, no, I said sit. And it will continue to do that until you listen. Exactly. And when you start listening, I think is where, I don't want to say the changes are made, but just being in the moment, being in the moment and going, okay, I get what you did there. I see it now. And even if you don't see it, just go, okay, let's try this for a bit. I mean, not everything was meant for you. Yeah. I mean, it's like I had so many people going, oh, pattern design. And I'm like, with all of the other stuff that comes with that, I'm a one and done sewer. I've watched other people do it. I know what it takes on the back end of things. It's like, that's not for me. Could I do it? Yes. Would that bring me joy? Absolutely not. I just have no desire to do that. I do desire to sew and create and encourage other people to create. That's really where I am.
Yeah.
anything else, you know, and social media, I do love people. I love connecting people just like you do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so by doing those things, I feel as though I'm living my best life.
Yeah, and I think for anybody who is feeling isolated or feeling alone and just thinking, how do I get connected? How do I I think the social media thing is a great thing. Follow some people like you, like Harry, follow people in the sewing world, because what will happen is, you'll see comments underneath their posts, and you can comment, and sometimes you can comment on that person's comment, and that person will come back to you, and then eventually it might be an online friendship that begins, but you start to feel part of that community, and then you never know where it is going to take you. I mean, it's like with me. Here I am sat with you. When I started Crafty Monkeys, I had, 3 or 4 sewing people in my life. And then, we sort of came this like, let's do this take 3 every month, this club. And then we started the club. And then one of the ladies, I said, we need another sewer. She said, well, I know someone called Sarah Ashwood. Sarah Ashford, let's try her. So we brought her in. And then she was the one who said, well, I know someone called Kerry. And then I talked to Kerry, and Kerry said, oh, I'm not so sure about the teaching thing.
Right.
And I was like, oh, on the floor. But then she said, but I do social media. I said, no, I didn't know that. And she said, I could help you with social media. And my goodness me, without her, I wouldn't be where I am today, because she has totally transformed this business. And my daughter, the other day, she's 15, she was saying to me, she wants to be a dancer and she's going to do dance training. But she said, I really worry about the future. And I think, how am I going to get there? And I said, you have no idea how you're going to get there. Because
Yeah.
look at me a year ago. I was sat there going, how am I going to build this business? I'm not a sewer. I don't know people. I mean, I'd worked in the craft industry for years because I presented on a craft channel. That's how it happened. But
Mhm.
you just have to open yourself up. And if you open yourself up, new things will come in all the time.
They will if you try and stay connected, and especially on Instagram, because with Missing Market, it was so the most wonderful thing about Missing Market was the community
Yeah.
and how open people were, and people were making connections through those 3 days
Yeah.
that were, you know, international.
Yeah.
People found each other in the same town, and where was it? Croatia. They're like, I had no idea that anyone else sewed in Croatia until I did this event.
Yeah.
And as hard as that event was to run every spring and fall, I would come back and do it again. And my husband's like, are you doing that again? And I'm like, no, never again. And then people would come like to me a month before and go, are you doing this again? I was like,
Yeah.
how can I say no? How can I say no? And so every year it would happen. And every year, really at the end of the event, I would say, okay, what did you get? What was the best thing? Bar none, every single time I made new sewing friends.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
if you are on Instagram, if you're starting there,
Yeah.
hashtag what you're interested in, hashtag quilting, modern quilting, hashtag garment sewing, me made. There are tons of hashtags that you can just go and find what you're interested in. You
Yeah.
don't have to follow the most popular people. Just
Yeah.
follow the people that speak to you,
Yeah.
whether it's their style or their message. There are many different ways to connect. I mean, maybe they have techniques that really resonate with you. I find that, on YouTube, there are all these different videos on how to learn how to do something. And I don't always go towards the ones that are most popular. A lot of times I will go to the ones that are like darker, but the way that they show it makes more sense to my brain.
Yes.
Not a spatial person
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
So I need to see things in a little bit different way.
We all do. So it is just finding that person, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, that's what we do with the classes as well. That it's, we've got great teachers, but that's the lovely part of it, is that although people are in little windows and they're around the world, there are various points when we chat. And people they learn about, oh, what time is it in New York? Oh, I'm in Scotland, and what's the weather like? And when they come back to the repeat classes, because a lot of people, they will like their tutor. It's like the Melissa Averinos class that we just did, the Making Faces, which was out of this world, absolutely full to the roof classes. But those people, I know that they will all rebook for the next one in October. And
Right.
when they come back into the windows, they get to see each other again. And we also have people as well, like we've got one lady called Elaine, and her sister regularly joins in. She lives in Germany. Now they have seen each other because of the pandemic, but they're now sewing together on a Zoom class on a Saturday morning.
Aww. See, that is the goal. That is the goal, to connect people.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether it's in person or online. Just, I am so impressed. You know, people joke about, you know, the older community in the quilting world. And yes, they're older, but they are rocking it. These older women, these older men who are, you know, taking their technology and going, okay, I'm doing this, I'm learning this. They have been so amazing. And I really, you know, this is not something, even myself, I mean, learning all this stuff, I wasn't brought up with computers. I wasn't brought up with smartphones. So it's a learning experience for me. But people that are 20, 30 years older than me, you know, sitting there doing their
exactly. And you know, and it's not that difficult. And once again, it's like the sewing. If you are, you know, if you remember your first time you started sewing with a sewing machine, you were able to do it. It wasn't a brilliant result, but you were able to do it. It's the same thing with Zoom and the computer. You know, it might take you a little longer. How do I, I press that button and I download it. Okay, I'm waiting for it to download what's happening. And then I click enter and I go in. The next time.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me? You're on mute. Honestly, I saw the funniest thing. Someone said that Zoom is like the new sort of Ouija board thing, because in Zoom you're constantly going, we can't hear you, we can't hear you. Could you unpress and we can't hear you? It's the same thing.
That's right there.
It's right there. It's the same thing. But you know, eventually you get better at it, and that's the one thing that we've actually had loads of people who've said, I'm so amazed with myself that I'm on Zoom. That, never mind the sewing, I mean, that's improving, but I've learned a new thing with the Zoom and the technology. So yeah, it's all about keeping learning, isn't it? Keeping going. That's the thing.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you're learning. Yeah. I mean, you could be learning basket weaving. I did a painting. My son loves it, so I gave it to him. I've never painted before in my life, and he's like, "Oh, this is really pretty." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "I did it." He's like, "Really?" Of course, he looks at me like I'm crazy because I don't paint other than walls. Than walls. I love painting walls.
So let's tell people, if they don't know where you are, let's see where they can find you. I want to know why you called yourself Go Kim, because your Instagram handle is Go Kim. Why Go? Just because you go?
Well, it's a funny little story. That nickname was given to me by a 10-year-old boy. And his family would give people who they knew, adults that they knew that had the same name, they would name them for their car in their name. Okay. So one day this boy was like, "Oh, are we going to go see Go Kim?"
Yeah.
And Susan, his mom, was like, "Who?" And he's like, "You know, Go Kim, you know, Katie's mom." And she said, "Oh, you mean Volvo Kim?" And he said, No, Go Kim, because she just goes and goes and goes. So after that, it stuck. And now that daughter is, you know, so it's been 20 something years that I've had that nickname, and it just seemed right.
I love it. It's like Kerry, because when I, you know, first came across her, very Kerry Berry, and I said, "Where's the very Kerry?" And she said, "It's my husband," who just goes, "Oh, that's very Kerry Berry." Oh, that's very Kerry Berry. So it stuck with her. That's very Kerry Berry. So yeah. That's good. So I like that. But for me,
little sticker now too.
Brilliant.
And that's actually me. That's the only thing I know how to draw. Yeah. And it's my mini me. So whenever I would put notes in my kid's lunchbox, or when I was shipping boxes to Afghanistan to my son when he was in the military, you know, I always drew my mini me on it. And so I was like, okay. Yeah. It felt
well, yeah, it feels right to me. Go Kim, it absolutely feels right. Having met you, but seeing you on the Instagram anyway, it's perfect. It's just you. So they can find you, Go Kim. Are you on Facebook? Because we might have some people who are.
I'm everywhere, Go Kim.
Everywhere. She's everywhere.
except for TikTok. Somebody took Go Kim. And so on TikTok, hold on, I will tell you,
Okay.
because I'm very disappointed that I wouldn't go on Snapchat because I couldn't get it. So it's
I
at
don't understand Snapchat. I don't understand it. I've tried it. I don't understand it.
What, TikTok?
No, Snapchat.
No, I have no use for that whatsoever. But yeah, so if you're on TikTok, this is
okay. What does that say? I need my glasses.
get those glasses.
Okay,
So it's
go_Kim.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I happen to love TikTok. I find I'm spending more time on TikTok than just about anywhere else because of the creativity level.
Yes.
People, it's the Wild West. It is
the Wild West.
So cool. And there aren't a lot of ads, which I'm finding is really becoming the way on Instagram, definitely on Facebook, but TikTok is it's a time suck, but I've limited myself, but I find that I am feeling more comfortable there now than just about anywhere else.
Yeah. Okay, so we can see you doing crazy things there.
Yeah, definitely.
But for anybody who wants to sort of sew along with you or do anything, where can they see you doing things? I mean, is it on Instagram or,
Well, if I do things I'm a multi-platform kind of person. I believe in making content once and then trying to share it as many places as possible.
Yeah.
I haven't been sewing very much lately, but I will be soon. But either Instagram or TikTok. I don't blog as much as I used to, but I'd like to start doing that as well. I have goals after the kids go back to school.
Yeah.
I recognize that eye roll. Because my studio is a shared space with my son while he's home. He doesn't really care for me in here. He made that known a few minutes ago. So my sewing time has been limited, but after he goes back to school in a few weeks, I will have space again to do whatever I want to do.
Back on it.
Back on it.
Oh, I've forgotten to ask you my question that I always ask all of my people.
Lightning round. Let's go.
Okay. So if you had a dinner party and you had 3 guests at the dinner party.
Not fair.
And they can be famous, they can be best friends. Melissa Averinos wanted her inner child there, that's fine. And they can be passed on, you can bring them back. They can be anybody. Who would you have at your party? Clearly I'd be hosting it, so don't worry about me. Just in case you think I should invite you, Rachel. Obviously you'd have Kerry there because you want her love child. But who would you have at your party? 3 guests.
See, that's not really, I would have to have 4 because
okay, go for 4.
Children together in ages.
Right.
Like one's in Romania, one's in Missouri, and then one here and one who knows where she's going to be pretty soon. But my 4 kids have not been in the same place in like forever.
Okay.
So that would be my dinner party.
Oh,
and
that's
my son's wife and my 3 grandchildren.
Oh,
so yeah, so I need a little bit bigger spread.
That is exactly what Pat Sloan said. Pat Sloan said, oh, well, she chose her mother-in-law. She wanted her mother-in-law, who had passed on. So she wanted to bring her mother-in-law back because she got on really well with her. And then she started talking about other people and she went, oh, I think I'm going to need like a soiree, which is the title of her sew-along this summer.
Because Pat is brilliant that way.
Yeah. If anybody wants to watch the Pat Sloan interview, it is on this YouTube channel. So go and
I mentioned that on my Instagram post because Pat is a lot of fun to watch. She's a lot of fun to be with. She's very, very charismatic.
Well, you have lived up to the Pat Sloan. You have lived up to the Pat Sloan in your craziness and this little chat. So I hope that you've enjoyed yourself. I don't know. It's saying that we were live. I don't know if we were. If anybody is watching right now and they've made I can only apologize because according to my phone, I can't see if we're live or not. So it's going to go up there. I've recorded it. I'm going to put it onto YouTube. But if we're live and you're commenting, I can only say sorry. I can't see the comments. This is only the second time I've done it, but it will go up and it will be lovely. Thank you very much for coming along. Next Friday, I'm interviewing Karen Orifil. And on the 13th of August, I'm super duper whooper excited about this because he's going to touch on something that you touched upon with the sustainability, is Zach Foster. I'm a little bit starstruck. We started DMing each other.
He's a person.
He is a person. But yeah.
Makes him even more valuable.
He's so lovely. He's so lovely. And I absolutely love what he does. And yeah, he's going to come and chat to us. So that is very exciting. So yeah, lots more plans.
Retreats. I'm all for teaching something. I can teach anything.
What you want to teach with ours, did you say?
Yeah. I love stuff like that.
I actually asked Pat because I, read about her, but an amazing teacher. But she doesn't really teach anymore. But I put her on the spot and I said, I'd love to come and teach for monkeys. And she kind of went, yeah. And then after she went, I don't teach anymore. And I went, oh.
Have you seen it's about an avocado? Thanks.
So I'd love to come and teach a class with us. You just have to say what you want to teach, because this is what we do. We bring people all the time to monkeys, and some people will do one every year, and some people do one a month. And yeah, we love it. We love opening the stable doors. Come on in. I was going to say I'll put a saddle on you and a thingy, but that would be really weird. Come into the stable.
Yeah, I'll send you a list.
We'll talk. We're going to talk. You watched it here, YouTube. You watched it here. If you want to have a class, make sure you go to the website, craftymonkeys.com. And in the future, this is like Back to the Future. In the future, there will be classes listed. And I don't know when you're watching this. So if you're watching this in 2023, because YouTube is evergreen, the classes have gone.
You missed out. Where were you? We were here for you.
In 2021. Oh my goodness me. If anybody's watching this interview, they're either going to watch the whole thing and just be like in shock, or they're going to be skipping through going, what is this?
I have to say, this is more the real sewing world. I mean, it's not all prim and proper and professional. If you were to go to Quilt Market or anywhere like that, I mean, it is really more like this.
Yes.
This is the reality of it.
Yeah.
And this is what I wish more people would get to see.
Yeah.
And they can absolutely be a part of it by connecting to you, by connecting to me, by connecting to Carrie or, Pat Sloan, Jane Davison, Natalie Santini of So Hungry Hippie. I mean, there is such a great way. They can, loads of people and loads of way to connect to those people in the community. And then you just roll with it.
Exactly. You gotta roll with it. Oh, don't. I might get charged. Might get a bill now. Might get a bill from, is that Oasis? I don't know. Lads, come on, Oasis, don't do it to me. I can't afford you. Right.
It's one of these. What is it?
I've edited it out. YouTube will edit it. They'll go, you just used a song you're not allowed to use. Right, my lovely lady, my lovely crazy go-go Kim, I'm going to let you go because it's 6:05. And I will get this on YouTube somehow. It might be there immediately. It might have to go on in 20 minutes, but it will be on.
It was so lovely. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for saying yes. So we're babies in the YouTube world. We're little tiny babies. We're baby YouTubers. So it was. I mean, when Pat said yes, I was like, has she got us mixed up with someone else? This woman who's got like 1 million followers. And then you've come along and you've got a massive community. So it's just fantastic. That's one thing I do love about the community is the sharing aspect. No one is like, oh, I'm not dealing with you down there.
You just froze. Oh no.
What?
You froze.
Did we freeze? That is not a good look. I'm going to end this extreme. So we've said thank you to Kim. That is just a great way to end the interview. Thank you to anybody watching on YouTube if you've stuck with us, and thank you to Kim. And we will see you in our next Live at 5.